What's happening, gang? It's your boy Retro back again with another reaction video. Yeah. Just want to start this one off by first saying happy Thanksgiving to all of you wonderful folks out there that continue to support your boy RetroStef. Definitely very thankful for each and every one of you guys, but you already know we got a huge update to get to. You probably could already tell that it is going down. Just by that title alone, you guys are definitely going to want to check this one out. So we're now getting reports coming in from news sources that none other than Joe Biden is responsible for yesterday's ambush on 2 National Guardsmen in Washington, D.C., guys, and I'm excited to get into this one. So we're not straight into it. All I ask that you guys please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and without further ado, let's hop straight into it, folks. Check this one out.
Hold on, we just got this. I need to get to it. This just in, sources are telling Fox News that the shooter is an illegal immigrant from Afghanistan who came in during Operation Allies welcome under the Biden administration, and he overstayed that visa. All right, Chairman, so Fox News is learning that this person was here illegally, overstayed his visa, and that's who this shooter profile is. What's your immediate reaction?
Well, my immediate reaction is we tried desperately to get an accounting of all the people that came from Afghanistan to the United States during that disastrous withdrawal during the Biden administration. That was a huge priority for the House Oversight Committee. We never got that information. We were never allowed to get that information because I don't think the government had any idea. I don't think they kept an accurate accounting. And if they did, I think they realized there were probably lots of gaps. We were told there were going to be about 2,000 people that had worked with our military as people that tried to help with the cause to help protect our troops in Afghanistan. Right. But then at the end of the day, there were closer to 100,000. But we don't know what that number was, and I don't think the government has kept good track of it. And I'm sure there were mistakes that were made.
We're learning more about the man whom authorities say was the lone gunman. DHS has identified him as 29-year-old Ramanullah Lakamal. He came to the U.S. on September 8th, 2021 under Operation Allies Welcome. Former President Biden launched the program to help vulnerable Afghans after the withdrawal of U.S. troops from the country. The president now calling for an evaluation of what he calls every single alien who came from Afghanistan as he denounces yesterday's shooting.
All right, folks, this right here is absolutely unbelievable. Just when you thought we escaped the failures of the Biden administration, they come back to haunt us once more. Now that we learned that Joe Biden allowed this Afghan immigrant into our country underneath his operation to welcome these Afghan refugees after his disastrous Afghanistan withdrawal. I just can't believe this is what Biden has done, and we've seen so many folks going against this, but the Biden administration insisted that this was the move to make. And I believe this TikToker hit it right on the nail when explaining why the National Guardsmen shouldn't even have been there in Washington, D.C. just yesterday.
Well, surprise, surprise, the man who shot and killed 2 National Guards today was an Afghan national who shouted Allahu Akbar before shooting them. This is a huge problem we are having in America. This is why we need secure borders. This is why cities need National Guard. I saw someone tweeting today saying, oh, well, the National Guard shouldn't have been deployed, blah, blah, blah. They should have been at home with their families. You know what? Maybe if cities like DC, Chicago, Los Angeles, maybe if they actually had their cities under control and they didn't just have criminals running around, maybe if they didn't just let everyone into the country, we wouldn't have this problem. And before you come at me saying, well, Trump doesn't need to deploy the National Guard everywhere, here's an idea. How about we stop with these soft on crime policies where the criminals are let out after 72 hours and these sanctuary city policies where they just let everyone in without being vetted? At what point is enough enough? Because I am so sick and tired of seeing innocent people getting killed by immigrants, getting killed by Islamist extremists, getting killed by people who have been in jail over 40 times. Like, at what point do we stop this nonsense? And FYI, not everything is Trump's fault, okay?
And she's spot on. The person that we should be blaming is definitely not President Donald Trump. I think we could start at those sanctuary cities and those loonies on the left that continue to stand in the way and try to protect or shield these illegals from the mass deportation operations underneath the Trump administration. Then we can go back, way back to the Biden administration with their open border policies that allowed all these folks to come in unchecked, unvetted into our country and wreak havoc is what we're now seeing as a direct result of their open border policy. I mean, just think about it. There's no other country in the world, or not many, that you could just walk across their border without any penalty or consequences. They're going to stop you at the door.
It's for illegal entry in other countries. So if you enter illegally Singapore, that's 6 months in prison. If you enter illegally Russia, that's 2 years in labor camp. If you enter illegally India, that's 8 years in prison. Pakistan, 10 years in prison. North Korea, obviously, death penalty. And you enter here in Canada or the US and even Europe, and what do you get? Free housing, healthcare, education, food, public transport, cell phones, cash. Come on, guys. A country can only be a country if it protects its borders. Immigration is not bad, but illegal immigration should be penalized at the full extent of the law.
Let's be real, folks. This is common sense. There's not many other countries out there that's going to allow you to walk into their country illegally and then allow you to stay and give you all this free government aid, except for the United States of America. But it looks like that stops right here. The buck stops with the Trump administration, as we now have Borders Are Tom Homan coming out with an announcement of his own, saying that they're now tripling ICE enforcement through January of next year. Excited to see this one play out.
In a week from the beginning of the administration, and even if you keep going at the pace you're going at, that's a dent in the illegal alien population. People would deport, who are deportable aliens right now. So what do you say to those people who say this is great, but it's nowhere near enough?
Then come put a badge and gun on and give us a hand. ICE is hiring record numbers. Bottom line is, I just said just about 650,000 deportations. That is several hundred thousand more than the record that was back in 2012. So it was already a historic operation. Second of all, you got to consider the people who have left the country out of fear of being deported. Was over 1.6 million of them. So there's well over 2.2 million left the country already. And that's been a part of the plan from the beginning. We knew if we send over 1,000 ICE teams out there across the country, we send a message to the whole world. You enter this country illegally, we're looking for you. And by sending that message, by having anything, ICE is one of the reasons we have the most secure border in the history of the nation right now, because people aren't coming because they know there's consequences. So between that record number of deportations, the record number of self-deports, we're already had an historic deportation operation. But hold on tight, we're hiring 10,000 more. That's going to be on duty by mid-January. That's tripling the size of enforcement mobile operations. So if you think the numbers are historic now, wait till next year.
Well, that's music to my ears.
Really reassuring to hear that. We can see that the Trump administration has been very rapid in the response to this tragedy taking place yesterday in Washington, D.C. I'm excited to see a full-on cleanup of our streets of America, because we already know the Biden administration totally failed us. They sold us out with their open border policies, and now there's a need for a total cleanup. But we can't completely put all the blame on Joe Biden here for this tragedy that we've seen yesterday. We also have to put a little bit of the blame on folks like Jasmine Crockett and Don Lemon here, who aren't off the hook. We can see that their rhetoric also played a part in this attack.
I'll say it again. Donald Trump's mass deportation system makes me think of what a modern day slave patrol would look like. Slave patrols were armed groups empowered by the government to control, intimidate, and terrorize people solely based on color. That's what's happening now. Donald Trump is sending mass agents without warrants into communities of color to terrorize the people who live there. And the reason that I want to make sure that I draw out this link, because we heard Maxine say that black and brown is coming together.
Black people, brown people of all stripes, whether you're an Indian American or a Mexican American or whoever you are, go out in your place where you live and get a gun legally, get a license to carry legally. Because when you have people knocking on your door and taking you away without due process as a citizen, isn't that what the Second Amendment was written for?
I know you folks were probably a bit skeptical when I said that we can't place all the blame solely on Joe Biden at first, but now you're seeing that we can also place some of that blame and attribute this violence from the left to these Democratic officials and loonies on the left that continuously demonize our ICE agents and our federal troops. This has to stop, because we know exactly what it leads up to. But folks, get the nerve of these liberals now demanding that Trump allows them to post bail for illegals to vouch for them. This can't happen.
Dear Donald Trump, can we please make it so that American citizens can post bail for undocumented immigrants. Hear me out. If my neighbor, let's call him George, I know he's undocumented, he knows he's undocumented. Could I please put up a bail, $5,000, $10,000? And that bail would say, in 5 years, if George has not committed any crimes, if George has, stayed gainfully employed, if George has done X, Y, and Z that the government lays out, I get my $5,000, $10,000 back, and he gets his citizenship. Can I sponsor him? Can I post whatever you want to call it, a bond? The government could invest my $5,000 to $10,000 over the next 5 years while we wait for George to prove that he's, cool, and I can keep my friend here, or my neighbor here, or whoever it is, and the government can invest my money. George gets his citizenship, and everybody wins. Why would this be a problem? Can somebody poke holes in this for me? I'm sure I'm missing something, but I think it would be really cool. I think it would be really cool if we could, as American citizens, say, I want to sponsor this person. I want to vouch for this person. I know this dude. I know he's a good guy. I'm willing to put my money where my mouth is.
These folks on the left do not understand the simple concept of being illegal. There is no way that the Trump administration is going to allow you guys to vouch for these folks that have been unchecked, unvetted, and just allowed into our country. You don't know who they are. Yeah, George might seem like a nice guy at first. You put your $5,000 up. Next thing you know, he turns into the ambusher of 2 National Guardsmen. I mean, give me a break. Only way this will work is if you guys put up the $5,000, and if they don't commit the crime, yeah, they get a path to citizenship. But if they commit a crime, you do the time alongside them. That's the only way that this will work in my book. I can't conceive to allow this craziness. We can't continue to allow this craziness coming from these loonies on the left. But in better news, on a positive note, we got Attorney General Pam Bondi giving us an update on the conditions of the 2 National Guards members in yesterday's ambush. I want to check this out.
People's families who are going through this. Right now, we will base our charges based on their prognosis. They both came through surgery. I'm not going to talk about their conditions right now. I know their families are with them. I'd like to add something about the young woman. She volunteered to be there on Thanksgiving, working today. She volunteered, as did many of those guardsmen and women, so other people could be home with their families. Yet now their families are in hospital rooms with them while they are fighting for their lives. So, just pray, everyone pray today for these 2 soldiers, these 2 guardsmen, the man and woman. But if something happens, I will tell you right now, I will tell you early, we will do everything in our power to seek the death penalty.
Love to hear this very positive update that both of the wounded heroes from yesterday's ambush have made it through surgery. Again, keep them in your thoughts and your prayers, as well as their family members that are going through this during the holidays. Very trying times for our nation. But I want to flip over to President Donald Trump and his response, absolutely electric, to this tragedy in Washington, D.C. just yesterday.
My great fellow Americans, earlier today, on the eve of the Thanksgiving holiday, 2 members of the National Guard serving in Washington, D.C. were shot at point-blank range in a monstrous ambush-style attack just steps away from the White House. They had been deputized as part of the most successful public safety and national security mission in the history of our nation's capital, the D.C. Safe and Beautiful Task Force, which has achieved an unprecedented reduction in violent crime and crimes of all type. This heinous assault was an act of evil, an act of hatred, and an act of terror. It was a crime against our entire nation. It was a crime against humanity. The hearts of all Americans tonight are with those 2 members of the West Virginia National Guard and their families. The love of our entire country is pouring out for them, and we are lifting them up in our prayers. As we are filled with anguish and grief for those who were shot, we're also filled with righteous anger and ferocious resolve. As President of the United States, I am determined to ensure that the animal who perpetrated this atrocity pays the steepest possible price. I can report tonight that based on the best available information, the Department of Homeland Security is confident that the suspect in custody is a foreigner who entered our country from Afghanistan, a hellhole on earth. He was flown in by the Biden administration in September 2021 on those infamous flights that everybody was talking about. Nobody knew who was coming in. Nobody knew anything about it. His status was extended under legislation signed by President Biden, a disastrous president, the worst in the history of our country. This attack underscores the single greatest national security threat facing our nation. The last administration let in 20 million unknown and unvetted foreigners from all over the world, from places that you don't want to even know about. No country can tolerate such a risk to our very survival. An example is Minnesota, where hundreds of thousands of Somalians are ripping off our country and ripping apart that once great state. Billions of dollars are lost, and gangs of Somalians come from a country that doesn't even have a government, no laws, no water, no military, no nothing. As their representatives in our country preach to us about our Constitution and how our country is no good. We're not going to put up with these kind of assaults on law and order by people who shouldn't even be in our country. We must now re-examine every single alien who has entered our country from Afghanistan under Biden, and we must take all necessary measures to ensure the removal of any alien from any country who does not belong here or add benefit to our country. If they can't love our country, we don't want them. America will never bend and never yield in the face of terror. And at the same time, we will not be deterred from the mission these service members were so nobly fulfilling. That is why tonight I can announce that I have directed the Department of War to mobilize an additional 500 troops to help protect our capital city. We will make America totally safe again, and we will bring the perpetrator of this barbaric attack to swift and certain justice if the bullets going in the opposite direction haven't already done that. During this time of the year, when we gather at home with loved ones, these two patriots were wearing the uniform of our country, patrolling the streets of our capital. They had taken a selfless oath to defend our nation against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that is exactly what they were doing when they were gunned down in a savage attack. I want to express my extraordinary gratitude to every member of the United States military who is deployed tonight, at home and abroad. I also want to thank the Secret Service and the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department for their work today. This Thanksgiving, I ask every family to say a prayer for the two great heroes who were so horribly shot, and for their loved ones. Please say a prayer. May God bless them and comfort them, and may God bless and protect the United States of America. Thank you and good night.